what is your response, first of all, to President Trump's accusations or President Trump's allegations that the EU manipulates, I suppose he's only talking about the euro, but he says the EU manipulates its currency?
Our clear answer is that German or European governments are not manipulating the currency. We have the situation that we have a huge trade surplus with US, but on the other side we have a deficit in taking over earnings from Americans abroad into US. With that, this trade deficit is compensated. And looking to that situation in US, we now have the trade debates ongoing in US, maybe irritate a lot the markets and investors, and also the question marks of the president behind the independence of the US central bank are making more uncertainty than it was before, and therefore US has it in its own hands to stabilize the currency again.
Juergen Hardt, doesn't the president have a point, though? He may not be spot on when he talks about currency manipulation, but I think the IFO Institute has calculated that Germany, once again this year, will run the world's largest current account surplus.
We have that due to the quality of the German products. And if you look to the streets of New York, those people who are driving BMW 7 class or S-class Mercedes are not the poor people, and they don't buy German cars or German industry supply goods only because they are the cheapest, but because they are the best. And in case that we have something like a trade war between Europe and US, the US president has to explain to its people why they should pay more for less good products. I think we need more competition between Europe and US in quality of goods and in innovation. And this can be done by lowering barriers in trade, tariffs, and also non-tariffal barriers. And this was what we try to do and to talk with in US concerning the TTIP, the trade agreement negotiations. And I would appreciate if US and Europe start again in talking about how we can lower our tariff barriers between North America and Europe.
Let me shift gears slightly, but still from the point of view of President Trump. If he had watched Vladimir Putin's meeting with Angela Merkel over the weekend, he would have taken from it two things. Number one, Putin made very clear that no one is to mess with his pipeline, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which Merkel is supporting. And number two, if anybody does, he wanted to make it clear that there are still millions of refugees that could be unleashed upon Europe. It almost seemed like the Russians were saying, you'd better let us build this money-making pipeline to sell you our gas, or we'll flood Europe again with refugees.
I think there's no relation between those two things. We have a huge demand on gas in Europe. We need gas from several parts of the world. 1/3 of the gas in Europe is coming from Russia. There will be an increase of gas use in Europe because we step out of nuclear powers and fossil energy, and therefore we need gas as to fill the gap between the renewables on one hand and the traditional energy in the past. And
but I'm sorry, Juergen. Shouldn't you be buying it from someone else if Russia is annexing Crimea and poisoning people in the UK with nerve agents?
Mm-hmm. We have a clear interest that gas transfer to Europe will continue through Ukraine. And I think Chancellor Merkel made clear that one of our conditions for making Nord Stream 2 a reality is that there will be also in future transfer of Russian gas to Europe through Ukraine. The Ukrainian transfer gas system needs to be renewed. I think there's a question mark behind who pays for that and how can the investment be done. This needs to be negotiated and discussed in the future. But without any gas through Ukraine, there will be no Nord Stream 2, and I think this was the message of Chancellor Merkel to President Putin last week.
Juergen Hardt, will Angela Merkel be rolling out the red carpet to President Erdogan in September?
We have huge themes on the agenda between Turkey and Germany. We have common interests concerning the refugee policy, but we also have big differences. Around 7 German citizens are in jail without any court decision at the moment, journalists with German-Turkish background. We ask for releasing them immediately. We also ask Turkey not to sponsor into the conflict in Syria. We think that Turkey has to play a role to calm the situation in Syria and not to increase the situation. And we ask the Turkish government to come back to politics as it was 10 years ago, independence of justice, independence of media in the country, and rule of law in every court. And at the moment, Turkey, unfortunately, is going away from that, which might be one of the main reasons for the turbulences, the economic turbulences of the country. Therefore, Erdogan has also some demand on us, and I think IMF has to help him.